Hi, I'm Jean Cummings with Politico, and it's time to turn the table with Christiane Amanpour, host of ABC's This Week. Now, President Obama this week has brought together Mideast leaders for the first direct talks in 2 years. Many presidents have tried this, and all of them have failed. Christiane, what's different now?
Well, I put that very question to Prime Minister Blair, who I interviewed yesterday in Washington, and he basically said that what's different is that, unlike the Bush administration, President Obama has put this at the top of his agenda. You remember that practically the first thing he did after his inauguration was declare that the Israeli-Palestinian negotiations were going to be a big priority. He immediately nominated Senator George Mitchell as the negotiator and has spent the last 20 months trying to get them together, or rather the last nearly 2 years in office trying to get them together. And there have been a lot of pitfalls in the lead up, but now I think they really want to try. The real question is, we're going to see in 3 weeks from now whether this is a goer at all, because towards the end of September, Israel has to make a decision as to whether they continue with the moratorium on settlement building in the West Bank. If they do not, the administration is very concerned that this might scuttle the whole attempt right now. And so they're trying to see whether there's any kind of bridging proposals or any kind of modalities to get around that very, very tricky but early warning sign as whether this is going to work or not.
Now, the president also delivered on another campaign promise this week when he announced that he was turning the page on the Iraq War, that the combat missions were over, essentially ending, marking the end of the war itself. And I'm curious what you think. Both of these foreign affairs issues are very important, but right now the only thing voters talk about at home are jobs. Can he break through with both of these issues with the public?
Well, I think that is going to be a tough question, because you're absolutely right. It's the domestic issues that are consuming the public, because the economy is bad. They're feeling the worry, they're feeling the anxiety, and that's showing up in all sorts of polls. But the question of Iraq was a campaign promise. He said that he was going to do it, so in that regard, he's fulfilling a campaign promise. The real question is to the future of Iraq and whether this will be the end of the war in Iraq. Obviously, 50,000 U.S. troops remain there to assist and advise and train the Iraqi forces to take care of their own country. But right now, there is still no government in Iraq, 6 months after the election, which leaves a dangerous vacuum. And even General Odierno, the retiring and now returned commander of U.S. forces there, has said that he is very concerned and that a government might take anywhere from 4, 6 to 8 weeks to form. And then what will happen? Will there be a call for new elections? Will the politics sort of descend into violence? People are very, very concerned about this, and I think that's going to be a big issue.
And I assume these are going to be big issues that you'll be talking about on Sunday. You want to tell us a little bit about what you'll be having this week?
Yes, well, we have the exclusive U.S. interview on television with the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. He's just written his memoir, A Journey, and that has just been released this week. And it is, I think, remarkably candid. Now, it's true that he does not offer in the slightest any apology or walk back on the most controversial aspect of his term in office, and that is the full-hearted, full-throttle support for the Iraq War. I press him quite significantly on why there was the need, not about WMD, because that has been litigated and relitigated in the press, in the public, all over the place, but why they needed to do it then, because Saddam was being contained by these sanctions. And by doing the Iraq War, the consensus is that they took their eye off the ball in Afghanistan, so that now, 8 years after defeating the Taliban in Afghanistan, they're only just surging. They still have this hot war, and the outcome there is by no means certain. And that is where the world identified the hub and the sort of birthplace of this Islamic extremism that's confronting the West and the rest of the world. So I pressed him a lot on that. But in other areas, very candid about what needs to be done about confronting Iran, about the personal pressures of leadership, some actually very interesting anecdotes, his dysfunctional, some would say, relationship with his chancellor and successor, Gordon Brown, why he thinks Brown lost the 4th election after he won 3 elections, 3 terms in office, and some very, very interesting information on all of those big aspects.
Sounds like a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you.